We're going to talk about FC Cincinnati players and kind of their role. We sneaked it, but Miles Robinson, he comes in the 46th minute against, Senegal for the U.S. off the bench. First 6 minutes, I think he was just trying to get back in the match kind of playing, I would say, Sam, like it's been a while. He played obviously in San Diego was the last time for like real, competition minutes. And he only played a half, I believe, in that one. So it's been a while for him since then. He's kind of been in and out of trainings. From what we understand, he's been training with the U.S., every single day. He just looked like he took some time to kind of get back to the speed of the game, especially a World Cup level speed, playing the Senegal team. Part of that, Sam, I don't know if you want to attribute to, like, he hasn't really played a ton, with the guys next to him. I think in several caps, like, there's been some continuity with a few players, probably more Chris Richards than, I'd argue with Tim Ream, than I'd argue with Austin Trusty. He's probably not played a ton with. But the mistake that he has, like I talked about earlier, 52nd minute, he plays the ball back to Brady that he should have just played out wide. And instead, he gets his pocket picked and they're in on goal right away and score. So hopefully that isn't a deal breaker for him for World Cup minutes. But in the eyes of a lot of social media people, what do you think, Sam?
Yeah, I mean, before we touch on that, I think, from my perspective, like you said, he made the March window call up, but he was kind of injured during that, so he wasn't really able to I don't think he played at all in any of the Atlanta matches. But he was with the squad and kind of training kind of off to the side with them, or at least with the squad. So yeah, like you said, the cohesion may not have just been there. Like you said, getting his legs back under him. But yeah, I hope that's not like a lasting impact in Poch's memory is, well, I can't trust him on the ball.
Right.
Look at the closeout speed though. Yeah, he makes a mistake, but he's almost able to save himself. Unfortunately, Mane kind of just has to put his body into him just to get the goal.
It's one moment in world football though that makes a huge difference on the match.
It's true.
That's where I think,
the biggest stage. Yeah.
Yeah. In the biggest stage, the biggest moment, you can't make mistakes like that. And
so
hopefully he learns from that.
To your point though, I mean, he cleaned it up, right? So he had the second most defensive contributions for the U.S. men's national team in the match, right? So after that moment, he was kind of able to stay solid there in the back. But yeah, you were talking about the spark, criticism on socials. So yeah, he contributes to the error that leads to the Mane goal. And so the social media reaction was a little quick and unforgiving. So you had a lot of people on social saying Poch still has 12 hours to remove Robinson and Roldan and bring in Musa and Tessman. As of right now, it is solidified. So June 1st, they had to, had to have the rosters officially in. Robinson has stayed, if you did not know. And then somebody else said Miles and Roldan have no place in this squad. They are dreadful. Tessman, Morris, Musa, or Busio would have been better. Busio is interesting because we saw him, for not
for a while.
Yeah, not a while. And then other people labeled Robinson as a liability for his mistakes.
It's interesting, like I see Hercules Gomez comment on it. Sam, I see Taylor Twellman saying like this is the way that Miles has played all season long for FC Cincinnati. I think that's maybe more of a total picture of like what he's saying, like overall his performance. But people, fail to, think that the first 3 or 4 matches for him were fantastic. Like that's one of the best we've seen.
Defensive player of the year right there.
Like, he looks solid. And then it just dropped off, maybe it was injury, maybe it was like rotation of center backs around him. But as of late, I would agree. It was more of the same. He kind of held his ground like once he got his footing after the first 6-7 minutes there after they scored, he kind of settled in, but it's one mistake like that costs you a spot and costs you minutes in the World Cup. So we'll see what that looks like moving forward for him. Does he get any minutes against Germany? I would probably say if anything it might be like the last 10 minutes or 15 as you want more of your starting guys to kind of come out towards the end. You don't want them to get fatigued or get, a muscle injury or anything like that. But that's kind of where I see it. Do you agree with that?
Yeah, I think so. I don't know about a 45. Like you said, you kind of want to maybe see how long the starting 11 can go, maybe a little past 45, like a 60-minute maybe.
I think that sorry to interrupt if I did, but I was just going to say that Freeman, I think, took that spot.
Yeah.
I really think he's solidified himself as that third center back now. And
a more athletic center back who can also play on the wing, and
yeah, it's just the question if Chris Richards can be in there too, because if not, it's Tim Ream, it's this starting back line that we saw, but if it is Richards, then is it Freeman you take off, or is it Mark McKenzie? That's the question.
It's probably McKenzie, honestly, because Alex Freeman gives you a little bit more flexibility, I think.
It's fascinating. I mean, it is really interesting, the back line, issues for the U.S. They didn't look horrible overall, as a collective, but that was kind of our thoughts on Miles Robinson. But as we move to another player, Sam, that was in the running to make a World Cup roster, so Pavel Bucha, he started for Czechia, his actual first start, I think, for the national team. Comes in, a lead-up game to the World Cup against Kosovo. He played again 45 minutes. From all that I was seeing, played pretty solid overall. They had a 2-0 lead when he came off. There was a lot of kind of, I would say tweets out there that he looked pretty solid overall. He did play center mid. I failed to mention that. Lately Bucha's been playing, right wing back. I think that's kind of underrated in this, and I don't think they saw him as much of, obviously a wing back, but his versatility should have been, I think, utilized better for this team. Obviously, I'm not a Czechia fan. I don't follow them regularly. I don't know what their roster looks like, but you would think in a tournament where you only have so many players, you would want guys that have versatility, though.
You would think, from our perspective, but at the same time,
he doesn't make the roster. Sorry, I didn't say that, but
yes, Pavel Bucha did not make the roster as of the other day. Literally, so Ryan's talking about the match. They announced it like right after the match, like, hey, here's the roster. So that was interesting to see him start and then not make the roster. But like you said, his versatility, you would think that you would want a player in there. However, when it comes to the World Cup, would you want somebody that is more specialized in one position, right? To be able to.
Yeah, I see your point there. But Freeman, we're just talking about versatility, though. Like, that's nice to have those guys. But if you're one of the last guys on the roster, for me, that's where it's like, hey, he can do this and this if we need him in a pinch.
Yeah. So background on this too, if you haven't been following along, the Czechia's national team manager is actually Bucha's old club coach, and so a large core of the guys that they took on this roster have a lot more physicality, set piece strength. And then, like I said, a lot of them are from the Czech domestic league or Slavia Prague in general. Honestly, a lot of them are. And so some of this may just be the fact that he had that relationship with Bucha and wanted to give him that experience and give him an opportunity to potentially make the roster. Right. So that in itself is very impressive and is somewhere Bucha's never been, right? And he's able to get his first start in his country's history. So I think
it's a cool moment for him, like, for sure. Like,
well, so out of the 26 man roster, right? I mean, he had to have been 27, 28, right? So very, very close to making, especially if you're starting the guy in your last game before the World Cup.
I think that's such a tease. Like, he hadn't really been involved in the lead up at all.
Yeah.
He comes in March and he doesn't feature at all. You start in this one, from all we hear, he did pretty decent, but what does he have to do to make the roster at that point? Does he have to score 2 goals to make it? I think honestly, the coach might have had his mind preset. I don't know.
It might be a tease, but at the same time, it also might be a helping hand of hey, dude, I'm going to give you a cool moment here. I know you've been working your butt off. I'm going to, because of our relationship, I'm going to bring you along. I'm going to give you your first start ever, with your home country, and give you a moment that you can, look back on. But unfortunately, there's just people that are better in the position, or, however it looks. I don't know.
I'm so bummed for him, and I'm still upset. I really was.
Could have had two. Could have had two guys.
I really wanted to see Bucha on a World Cup roster. Big bummer. Yeah, I'm sure everyone feels the same sentiment there. As we move along to other guys that, could have potentially made a roster, Sam, Bryan Ramírez, our left wing back for FC Cincinnati, he did not make the preliminary roster for Ecuador. Unfortunately, he was called up to the March camp. He still had not featured, a single time for Ecuador, but was in the running. I think that's kind of what he was hoping, and coming to FC Cincinnati would vault himself into that conversation. He's played decent this year. He's had some good matches, some not so good matches. But I think like you're putting in our outline here, Ecuador's depth is pretty fantastic compared to what it used to be. I think they're a solid, well-rounded team that's up and coming, and it could be a little bit of a sleeper, for this tournament. So, but a bummer for him. I guess on the flip side of things for, both Ramírez and Bucha is like they get at least a little bit of time to go and rest up because we rely pretty heavily, honestly, on both of them.
Well, yeah, one is our new right back and the other one is our left wing back. So,
right.
There you go. But yeah, obviously for Bryan, it's a little, it sucks being able to like be called up in March and going, man, what did I do between this date and this date not to get even called up to the preliminary, let alone, the official roster. Right. So is what it is. So like you said, hopefully this is something they still got time. Right. I mean, they're still in their 20s and will be approaching their 30s here